Yesterday, I live reacted to the first New York City mayoral debate. Okay. Now, coming into this race, Zoran already had a significant advantage, seemingly the approval of the majority in recent polls that were conducted right before the debate. And I suspect that after the debate, his approval even went up higher. I do think that Andrew Cuomo's performance was so spectacularly bad that he will probably lose support after this debate. But who knows? People are very stupid sometimes. Now, of course, one of the reasons I suspect that Zoran Mamdani's mayoral poll leading up to this debate was at 52%, up +5. Andrew Cuomo was -1 at 28%, and Curtis Lewa was at 14% with a +3. The reason why I suspect that is because, as John DeLillo correctly pointed to, what you have to remember is this poll was conducted before Zoran refused to condemn Hassan Piker on the debate stage, which is true, because that did happen. That did happen
Look now.
On the debate stage. Zoran Mamdani, in an act of resilience, refused to condemn the dangerous Hasanabi Piker. Okay? Which is pretty fucked up, honestly. Pretty fucked up. You're going down, pretty boy? Yeah, any moment now. Now, of course, there were some other more relevant positions, not like cost of living crisis that New Yorkers are facing. Obviously, that was irrelevant because it took 50 minutes for the debate moderators to finally get to that issue on the New York City mayoral race debate, and only like 10 minutes to get to the important issue that actually matters. Israel fears that Jewish people have, that Muslim man is scary, and Israel, will you actually defend Israel? Will you send the New York Police Department to defend Israel against other October 7th style incidents? Okay, after all, that's the only thing that matters, obviously. Will you do parades in Israel? Will you do Israel-style parades? Will you actually do fast and free buses if Israel doesn't want you to do fast and free buses? You know, things like that. Very cool. Very cool and very important issues such as that. New York Times called him a YouTube streamer. Why wouldn't he condemn Hamas? Why wouldn't he condemn Hassan Piker, Mr. Cuomo asked, referring to a popular YouTube streamer who once said America deserved 9/11. Mr. Mamdani said that he found Mr. Piker's comments objectionable or reprehensible, but he said he stood by his remark that he would not recognize Israel's right to be a Jewish state. It's crazy that they call me a YouTube streamer. I'm a Twitch streamer, okay? Anyway, getting insulted as a YouTube streamer, getting double insulted. All right. Do you think Cuomo had an ADL handler telling him to bring you up, or does he just have Hassan derangement syndrome? I don't think Andrew Cuomo personally has a Hassan derangement syndrome. I think he has a lot of extremely online, extremely right-wing, and pro-Israel guys in his team that think that this is actually a good thing to bring up in a debate. There's no way that he personally knew who the fuck I was, and it was most likely people in his team that he's listening to, and he's very desperate, and he thinks that this would actually cause chaos or controversy. But I don't think he himself is actually I don't think he himself is actually fucking aware of who I am or anything like that. First the ADL guy calling you a gamer, and then this. This is an act of desperation. It's very obvious that it's an act of desperation, because there is a reason. I mean, there's no planet where this is supposed to be like a serious blow to Zoran Mamdani. Okay? It just doesn't work that way. Especially because the overwhelming majority of people that will go through the task of trying to figure out who the fuck I am are going to be met with like a barrage of positive mainstream media coverage. Because we're talking about normies who care about what the New York Times is saying. They're not going to fucking go on TikTok to be like, oh my God, this guy's shocking his dog or whatever the fuck that people are saying on TikTok. They're going to look at what the New York Times has written, what the New York Post has written. Okay? And depending on which outlet they consider to be more reputable, they're going to see a New York Times op-ed piece. They're going to see my debate with Ross Douthat or something. And they're not going to be leaving that conversation with this notion that like this is a dangerous person. Okay? It's that simple. It's a spectacular failure of epic magnitude. Of course, the Hasbara dish rags like Jewish Insider will write about it. Mamdani distances himself from Hassan Piker's 9/11 comments in the mayoral debate, but the New York City mayoral nominee hasn't spoken against the streamer's long history of anti-Semitic rhetoric. Like, this came out literally the moment. Like, this came out yesterday while the debate was going on. They wrote this article while the debate was going on. I need you to be so fucking for real, okay? He's just trying to make this an issue, and the Hasbara papers like Jewish Insider or the Free Press or the New York Post will try to make this a deal, but it's not, because most people don't know who the fuck I am. It's that simple. Most people who are voting for the New York City mayoral race do not know who the fuck I am. And the ones that do know either, by and large, think I'm a progressive force, or they despise me and are most likely to vote not even for Cuomo, but for fucking Curtis Sliwa anyway. Okay? Azan, stop. Please stop being ridiculous. People know who you are. No. You're misunderstanding my point. Of course people know who I am. Obviously, if that wasn't the case, Andrew Cuomo would not know who the fuck I am and bring my name up at all. Okay? The reason why he's doing that is because this is his like last desperate gasp here. And it's nothing. It's a nothing burger. It's a dud. Because at most, even in the worst circumstance, if he was like constantly being hammered with this shit, he could just be like, listen, guys, I don't know Hassan Piker. He could just say that. You know what I mean? He could just be like, yeah, I don't know him. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm going to be like, oh, I don't support Zohran Mamdani any longer, right? Like, it's not a real line of attack. It's not a real avenue of attack, as I also described, because Zohran Mamdani could just as easily have turned around in that moment and been like, you're talking about associations and like media hits that I do. Meanwhile, you just went on the Impulsive podcast, which played a formative role in Trump becoming president, you know? Shouts out to Mike Malak once again. No smoke for him, but I'm just saying, if we're playing politics of that sort, you know, he could return fire in a similar vein. He doesn't even need to do that, of course, because it's stupid. It's a stupid argument to make. And that's it. It's that simple. Have you reached out to him about any of this, or do you just trust him and his team to do the appropriate combination of what's right for the campaign and mostly fair to you? I will not be confirming nor denying anything of that sort. But in any case, listen, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I do not matter. I mean, I'll take the W, I'll take the mention, okay? I'll take the mention overall. But this is not a consequential line of attack in general, especially considering that even though the moment was very funny and I appreciate it, okay, even though that moment was great for me, at least, it's a nuisance for Zohran to have to address at all. I work with more Democrats than Andrew Cuomo does, okay? That's the other thing. Like, as a matter of fact, a lot of the people to my left flank oftentimes will say I'm a sheepdog for the Democratic Party for this reason. Like, I have a consistent track record of opposing Republicans, as I also called out here. I said deeply unserious person to bring up a Schumer twice, especially considering I oppose the Republicans. Cuomo works with them to gridlock New York state politics. That's it. But I think this recognition or this mention is more indicative of the failure of his campaign. You had to apologize for the 9/11 comments before Zohran was even a state assemblyman, so it's extra dumb. Yeah, but that was precisely what Andrew Cuomo was doing. His only line of attack was the annoying, like, oh, you said this in 2020, you said that in 2020, you flipped off the Christopher Columbus statue, things like that. And that's not a significant line of attack. You're not talking about anything serious. And the only reason why this line of attack also doesn't work at all is because Zoran's on that stage talking about what he wants to do for New Yorkers, and Andrew Cuomo looks like a weak, flailing, aggressive, demented old man with a horrible track record, crying about old tweets and Twitch streamers, deeply insecure, deeply unserious. Do you understand? If Zoran didn't have policies that you could define him by, this line of attack would probably be more successful. Okay? That's it. If Zoran didn't have 5 key policies that everyone can point to when they think about why they want to vote for him or why they want to oppose him, then yeah, this might be a more sticky issue for him, right? After all, he himself is visibly Muslim. He's also 34 years old as of this weekend, and also a socialist. He has a long track record of anti-Zionist activism. These would be issues of consequence if he did not present a robust policy platform that people can associate with, that people can actually look at and say, I want that. I don't give a fuck what his background is. This is something that I always talk about, putting class first politics at the forefront of your communication, putting policies that seek to improve the material harm that the largest swaths of society are experiencing at the forefront of your platform will make it so that anyone who opposes you with silly culture war narratives and lines of attack like this look even more unserious. Because any moment that he's talking about policy and you're talking about this other dumb shit is a moment where you're losing. Okay? That's it. And yeah, the reason why Andrew Cuomo is bringing me up is because Zach Sage Fox is a part of his social media team. And Zach Sage Fox is a major Israel dick rider and a deeply unserious person. Okay? And also has been pictured next to Benjamin Netanyahu. Like, this is the guy. That's him. That's his social media team. If you want to know where this like Hassan Piker mention is coming from, that's it. If Andrew Cuomo was smart, he wouldn't be doing this shit. He would probably be trying to regain some confidence from voters by presenting like a reasonable, moderate approach that resembles resembles Zoran Mamdani's campaign, which at times he has tried to do. Okay. Oh yeah, here.
I feel like women in Israel especially think I'm gay.
That's the guy. You shouldn't help them. It's too late. Andrew Cuomo does not have the capacity to win back people who he has lost at this point. Okay? But that's it. You have bad instincts and you have a bad team. You're a bad person as well, and people can see it. Even the dumbest guy at the end of the day understands that when you're voting for a politician, that politician needs to give you shit. That politician needs to give you things. And if one message out of these 2 different messages, which one resonates better with voters? I'm going to give you fast and free buses and a rent freeze versus why are you not condemning Hamas and Hassan Piker? Which message do you think is going to resonate with a broad base of support? That's it. Bro, it's 2025 and you still think policy matters? Zoran has proven that policy matters. His success in the crowded primaries is proof of concept, okay? That is literally objective proof because although there were plenty of people who, for example, disagree with Zoran on his opinions on Israel, amongst like New York Jews, for example, that voted in the Democratic Party's primaries, they still ended up voting for Zoran over Cuomo and all of the other candidates in ranked choice voting. Why is that the case? New York Jews were recently polled. 60% of them still either strongly or somewhat support Israel over Palestinians, as opposed to only 30% of New York Jews that either somewhat or strongly support Palestinians over Israelis. That means that the majority of New York Jews still have sympathies towards Israel and not a lot of sympathy towards Palestinians. That means that, they're pro-Israel. Okay? And yet, there was still plenty of New York Jews that voted for Zoran over anybody else, in spite of Zoran's clear-cut advocacy against Israel. Why is that the case? Perhaps there were other policies that they liked from Zoran Mamdani. Because if you simply look at the aesthetics of it, no one who is pro-Israel after 2 years of fucking genocide is going to vote for the Muslim anti-Zionist in this race. If you look at the aesthetics of it, there has to be something else that caused them to vote for Zoran in spite of their support for Israel. And that is the policies. That is the material improvements that Zoran is promising. It's that simple. Okay? That's it. That's it.
You assure those New Yorkers, especially Muslims and Arabic New Yorkers, that you will be a mayor for all? You'll have 1 minute.
Yeah, well, first, I think the Assemblyman created the perception himself. Why wouldn't he condemn Hamas? Why wouldn't he condemn Hassan Piker? Why did it take us here tonight for the first time for him to say it? He still won't denounce, globalize the intifada.
I think his face is so funny here. It's just like what a spectacle this is. It's just, you might as well throw in the towel at that point.
Which means kill all Jews. Just say, I denounce it. He won't do it.
Older Jewish
divisiveness is chronic.
Why is he saying Hamas and Hassan Piker? Can you please answer about your own relationship with the Muslim community?
What is this? Cuomo, do you condemn Hassan Piker? Mamdani, free buses increase safety and efficiency. Sliwa, it was a cold night in 1998. Frank Sinatra had just faked his own death, and the Yankees were headed to the World Series. Yeah. And even though that was an idiotic fucking take, he did it again. He brought it up again when asked about his Islamophobia. Okay? It's ridiculous. But anyway, I digress. Let's get to some other shit. Let's get to the issues that really matter for the New York mayoral debate. You got the Yahoo article? Yahoo. Oh, from Mediaite. Mamdani condemns Hassan Piker for reprehensible 9/11 comment in heated battle with Cuomo during debate. Anyway, most of it is just like his takes on occupation. This is just like a SEO bait article. But in any case, your heart must have sunk into your stomach when you heard your name like that? No, I knew that it was happening. I knew that it was going to happen. How else would I have been able to predict it ahead of time? I said it. I said it before the debate. Do you have a plan in Cuomo's team who filled you in? Maybe. Yeah, here is me saying it before the debate that I know for a fact almost that I will be brought up in tonight's debate.
You think so?
As a line of attack. Have you seen the Andrew Cuomo press conference that he did on 9/11?
Oh, yeah. That quote. That's gonna be on your tombstone, brother.
He's going to bring it up, I think, to be like,
you really think so?
Oh, 100%. He's so desperate. He has nothing.
The Assemblyman will not denounce Hassan Piker, who said America deserved 9/11. The Assemblyman just said in his response, well, it depends on occupation. That is code, meaning that Israel does not have a right to exist as a Jewish state, which he has never acknowledged. That is from the river to the sea. That's why he won't denounce globalize the intifada, which means kill. Why wouldn't he condemn Hamas? Why wouldn't he condemn Hassan Piker?
Pre-watch Piker.
Why did it take us here tonight for the first time for him to say it? He still won't denounce globalize the intifada, which means kill all Jews. Just say, I denounce it. He won't do
older
it.
Jewish
Divisiveness.
I wonder if he is dumb enough to try it again. Because, like I said already, at most, what Zoran will do if he's consistently fucking backed into the corner is just be like, yeah, fuck him. I don't know him, right? I don't know the guy. He could just do that. Obviously, that's a little fake. if he were to do that. But regardless, like at most, if he kept pushing it over and over again, that's what he could easily say. So it just doesn't make any fucking sense for him to keep pressing this, because like you're trying to win. If you're Andrew Cuomo, you're trying to win, right? You're trying to win the mayoral race. Your higher priority here isn't to disparage me, because at most, if he fucking threw me under the bus, then all that does is just fuck me over. You know what I mean? For a little bit. Like, are you running? Are you running to be the next mayor of New York? Or are you running to, I guess, attack Israel's critics? You know? Hasanabi, is the Jeremiah right to Barack Obama? No, it's different than that. Especially because, remember, I platformed Zoran in the primaries. Like, there's a difference. Like, I'm a separate person that has his own, his own work in the Democratic Party alongside like other Democrats and stuff like that. Whereas Jeremiah Wright is a local religious figure who is, who did not actually do anything or say anything wrong, in my opinion. You're missing the bigger point that Majority Report brought up. He answered a question about Islamophobia with blatant Islamophobia. Exactly. No, I'm going to get to that in a second, because that was the second time. That is the second time he brought me up. Zoran will win the race if he said, I don't care what he says 7 years ago. He's too far ahead. Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. At this point, it's not like, at least this line of attack is not going to work. Yeah, ultimately, the second mention was basically this. What will you do to make the Muslim community feel safe? Cuomo, here's another brown fella I hate. Like, this guy, Hassan Piker, you won't condemn him. He loves 9/11. He wants to do 9/11. You want to do 9/11. Like, that's what this is. The association of not only one, but two Muslim dudes with 9/11 is exactly what he's trying to do there. And he ain't slick. And I think that's the reason why the second time when he responded to the moderators who asked, when they asked, like, well, don't you think it's appropriate for Zoran to call into question, like, what you've done for Muslim New Yorkers, considering that you couldn't even name a mosque? He still turned around and was like, name a mosque? How about name Hamas and Hasanabi Piker, who he refuses to condemn? Fucking ridiculous. Yeah, both of the Muslims that Cuomo mentioned, by the way, were 8 years old during 9/11. 8. All right.
Of course, I believe that they should lay down their arms. I'm proud to be one of the first elected officials in the state who called for a ceasefire. And calling for a ceasefire means seizing fire. That means all parties have to cease fire and put down their weapons. And the reason that we call for that.
Yeah, I mean, this was when he said all parties should put it down. He was trying to do the both sides thing, which I think is like not necessarily a retreat in general, but he was trying to do the same, like, oh, I think Israel has a right to exist as long as everybody has equal rights and representation. He's basically doing that same thing where he's saying, like, look, I think it's fine for both parties to disarm and put their weapons down, knowing that is the most like liberalized version of like the most liberal way of communicating that position.
Is not only for the end of the genocide, but also an unimpeded access of humanitarian aid. I, like many New Yorkers, am hopeful that this ceasefire will hold. I'm hopeful that it is durable. I'm hopeful that it is just.
The President of the United States should have been applauded by you, Zoran Mandami, and you, Andrew Cuomo, on the day that he brought together that international coalition that met in Egypt, that came from the Middle East and the Persian Gulf. I certainly applauded him for bringing peace to Gaza and trying to end the hostilities in the war between the Israelis and Hamas, so there can be peace between the Israelis and peace between the Palestinians. But you seem, Zoran, to be incapable of praising our president.
Okay.
And Andrew, You were incapable of praising our president.
Gentlemen, we have
Give credit where credit is due. He's brought peace to Gaza.
I did applaud President Trump in his.
This is the fucking stupidest question. Why won't you applaud our big, beautiful president for putting forth the same ceasefire conditions that existed for a year now after 9 additional months of genocide? Like, stop, dude. Is he a fucking king? Is he a god? He's the goddamn president. Calm down. How is this even? This isn't even relevant to the Israel-Palestine conversation. Like, we've moved even beyond that. One should ask, why is this even an issue of utmost importance in the fucking New York mayoral race? And that's a valid question to begin with. But then to move beyond the Israel-Palestine situation and be like, why won't you praise Donald Trump? Like, what are we doing here? What the fuck are we doing here? What a fucking idiotic spectacle, dude. So dumb.
Administration. I think it was a great accomplishment. I hope the peace holds. The assemblyman will not denounce Hamas. The assemblyman will not denounce Hassan Piker, who said America deserved 9/11. The assemblyman just said in his response, well, it depends on occupation. That is code, meaning that Israel does not have a right.
Bro literally took the long road to be like, he is doing taqiyya, the Muslimic Mohammedan practice of lying to the Christians in an effort to implement Sharia law. He's doing taqueria, and it's not Taco Tuesday. He's in code signaling to his Mohammedan counterparts that he wants to do Sharia jihad. Yeah, look at the comments. Look at the fucking comments. New York City mayoral candidate spar over Israel-Gaza positions. Is this a debate for the mayor of Tel Aviv or New York? What does Israel have to do with New York City? Mayoral candidate for New York, America. X. New York, Israel. Check. Again, why was the host asking Israel questions? Just focus on New York City, please. You didn't denounce Hassan Piker. Jesus fucking Christ. This is what political debates are now. Why we have Israel and New York City mayor elections for what? Always Israel. Why do they always talk about Israel? What's this got to do with the mayoral race? As a non-American, it's astounding to see how deep and strong Israel's hold on American politics is. Public office candidates, even at the city level, which has nothing to do with foreign policy, are required by the state mechanism and media to pledge their allegiance to Israel. Haaretz reporter, New York correspondent for Haaretz, Etan Nechin says, I didn't know Israel and Gaza were boroughs of New York. What do your parents think when they see former governor and still sex pest Andrew Cuomo trying to drag you on TV? I mean, they don't give a shit. They know what this is. They're used to it. It is what it is. But yeah, I think this is the broad, if you want to understand like what the average person's perspective is on this shit, okay? That's what it is. Why the fuck are these guys talking about Israel so much? Who cares? And not only do they take this approach, but they also agree with Zoran's position as well. Okay? That's the other thing. They don't. This is not an issue that's important in this debate. And even if it is, even if people are thinking about Israel, they are not siding with Andrew Cuomo's position. They're siding with Zoran Mamdani's position. Do you understand? Most people are saying, well, what the fuck? Mayor of Israel or New York City?
To exist as a Jewish state, which he has never acknowledged. That is from the river to the sea. That's why he won't globalize the Intifada, which means kill all Jews.
Let's give Mr. Mamdani a chance to respond to that.
I want to be very clear. The occupation is a reference to international law and the violation of it, which Mr. Cuomo has no regard for since he signed up to be Benjamin Netanyahu's legal defense team.
Bars. Absolute bars. Once again, boom, roasted.
During the course of this genocide. And I find the comments that Hassan made on 9/11 to be objectionable and reprehensible. And I also think that part of the reason why Democrats are in the situation that we are in, of being a permanent minority in this country, is we are looking only to speak to journalists and streamers and Americans with whom we agree of every single thing that they say. We need to take the case to every person, and I'm happy to do that.
We thank you.
And then they cut him off, but No, dude, are you kidding me? Throwing me under the bus in that situation would be, I don't know Hassan Piker. I'm sorry for ever talking to Hassan Piker. He is a bad guy. You know what I mean? That's a bad thing he said, and he's a fucking bad guy. That's throwing me under the bus. Him saying, I don't agree with his statements, they're reprehensible on 9/11, that is perfectly valid. What do you want him to do? Make it an actual fucking issue? Are you stupid? Because if he were to turn around and try to defend this, okay, and be like, well, what Hassan was talking about is actually America's adventurism in the region leading to 9/11, and he misspoke in 2019, then all of a sudden, that's going to be the major issue here. That's so stupid. You have to tactically retreat in situations like that. He literally defends talking to me and others like myself. Of course, he did he worked through that in the best possible way. He has, 15 seconds to respond to a packaged smear. Obviously, he has a finite amount of time there, very limited amount of time to respond appropriately, and he did it perfectly well, as he has done time and time again. I guess the strongest way to approach it, if we're going to talk about like the worst possible way to approach it, is like throw me under the bus, saying like, yeah, I shouldn't have talked to him or whatever, which would have been horrible, by the way, because that would make him look weak. Not that like people give a shit about me in general, but that would just make him look weak, right? Like it's not that like my fans are so important or so consequential, or I'm so important or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all. But that would literally look like he's folding for no fucking reason on an issue that he doesn't have to fold on at all. My Muslim parents only heard Cuomo bring up 9/11 after the Muslim question, and their immediate reaction was not who is Hassan Piker. It was, why is he bringing up 9/11 in context to how he'll help Muslims? And yeah, my position on the 9/11 statement is also identical to Zoran's. I should have worded my position more carefully, because a lot of people bastardize the quote understandably and maliciously. But having said that, he made the most of that. He made the most of that situation. When addressing the supposed grievance or complaint here, it's important for that chat ask themselves if they're hurt because their favorite streamer was microaggressed or because they think Zoran is betraying the left. Yeah, but I don't even think most people in here think that that happened anyway. I think most people understand exactly what that looks like. You know what I mean? I do not condemn Hassan Piker. Yeah, he handled it perfectly well without retreating, without folding, without apologizing, because there's no need to apologize for that. And he tackled it. He tackled it in a packaged line of attack that was supposed to heighten his like Islamic background and with as many Islamophobic stereotypes as possible. And as a 34-year-old Muslim socialist who's been in politics, he understands exactly what's going on there. He understands exactly what's going on there, especially because like he's in a double bind. He's in a double bind in my situation because any line of attack that he concedes against me could very easily also imply him as well. That's the other unfortunate circumstance for him. Do you understand? Because he too is a 34-year-old Muslim socialist with a long history of criticizing American intervention around the globe.
Democrat. You're a Democratic
All right,
socialist.
candidates, we have
you didn't
other
vote
ground.
for Kamala Harris, right?
We have other ground to cover. We have other
No,
ground.
said leave it blank in the presidential primary, because primaries are a place to air dissent. And like
Okay.
many Americans, I was horrified
Okay,
by the
Mr.
Israeli
Mamdani,
genocide
all
of
right.
Palestinians.
Okay.
And if you want to look for me on the ballot, you'll find me as the
Okay,
Democrat.
Mr. Mamdani, thank you.
The assemblyman will not denounce Hamas. The assemblyman will not denounce Hassan Piker, who said
God damn, how many clips did this get featured in?
America deserved 9/11.
The occupation is a reference to international law and the violation of it, which Mr. Cuomo has no regard for since he signed up to be Benjamin Netanyahu's legal defense team during the course of this genocide. You know, it took Andrew Cuomo being beaten by a Muslim candidate in the Democratic primary for him to set foot in a mosque. He had more than 10 years, and he couldn't name a single mosque at the last debate we had that he visited.
Zoran Mandami, the president, has already.
Yeah. It would, first of all, demonstrate very poor political instincts and somewhat poor on him as a human being. You're also right about your multiple overlapping significant categories and not showing solidarity, which shine a poor light on his abilities as an activist too. No. Throwing me under the bus if they kept up the pressure would have been appropriate to do. Is just that the only thing that would make him look bad on is that he's like folding on something that he doesn't need to fold on. But I don't even think that it would be all that consequential in the grand scheme of things, regardless, because this is not an issue of consequence. It's not. At the end of the day, people fucking go on and appear on a million different outlets when they're trying to promote their policies, right? They do that. That's normal. I mean, he fucking went on Fox News. You know what I mean? Like, it's very stupid. It's very stupid to be like, oh, one of the people that you actually align yourself with is a dangerous radical or some shit. Especially when my positions overall, aside from, let me say this, aside from the negative filtering that people engage with all the time, my positions are not unpopular at all. They're not even fucking radical. The average liberal wine mom at this point has quite similar opinions around, you know, demanding that the Democrats become more aggressive and become fighters and do right by their neighbors and denounce ICE. Like those are the things that I want from the Democrats. You understand? And many in the base, if we had like an objective reflection of my worldview, many in the base, if they were asked, do you agree with Hakeem Jeffries or this random person, that random person being me, and they just presented our perspective, our political perspectives side by side, who do you think they would agree with? 9 times out of 10. Do you think it would be with Hakeem Jeffries, who has a very low approval rating, or do you think they would agree with the positions that I'm fucking pointing to? That's it.
You've heard it from Andrew Cuomo that the number one crisis in this city, the housing crisis, the answer is to evict my wife and I. He thinks you address this crisis by unleashing my landlord's ability to raise my rent. If you think that the problem in this city is that my rent is too low, vote for him. If you know the problem in this city,
this is the best line in the entire debate,
is that your rent is too high, vote for me.
I was the HUD secretary. I built affordable.
That was such a fucking bar, dude. That was such a goddamn bar.
Housing all across this nation. I built affordable housing in this city when I was in my 20s. I know how to get it done.
Well, Zoran, boy, your fantasies are never going to come about in terms of funding everything you want that's going to be free. It's a fantasy. Let's deal with the reality.
Are you crashing out about what?
In other words, what the Assemblyman said is he has no experience.
What I don't have in experience, I make up for in integrity. And what you don't have in integrity, you can never make up for in experience.
Yeah.
That's another fucking bar. That was the other really good moment as well. Basically, total and utter defeat for Cuomo. It's Cuomo over, and absolute victory for Zoran, and maybe even the Republican protectorate of Curtis Sliwa. Just say yes and move on. Stop feeding the trolls, King. What, like about crashing out? Yes, I'm crashing out. I'm crashing out extra hard. By the end of this debate, if you were a Zoran fan, you left a bigger Zoran fan. If you were a Sliwa fan, you left a bigger Sliwa fan. If you're a Cuomo fan, you left a Sliwa fan. I don't know. Maybe even if you were a Cuomo fan, maybe you became a Zoran fan as well, potentially. It's really cooked. He cooked himself. He was so unnecessarily combative. He was just so bad. He was unironically crashing out half the fucking debate. It was horrible showing, horrible performance.
Well, when Andrew Cuomo had his strongest moment of the evening, that was likely when he was attacking Mamdani over his criticism of Israel, especially the war in Gaza, the way that Mamdani has declined to fully condemn Hamas, the way that Mamdani appeared with streamer Hassan Piker, who has said that America deserved the 9/11 attacks. That was ultimately the strongest moment for Andrew Cuomo in this debate.
If this guy speaking wrote this hit piece, yeah. The guy who's writing that wrote this. Mamdani passes on condemning the Holocaust. Just so you understand what his background is, okay? If you think that he's if you think that he is behaving here in a consistent manner, this is one of the fastest ways to sniff out someone who is being insincere. If they spend any fucking time on that line of attack as though it's like a solid one, you know that these people are 100%, 1000% deeply uninterested in the actual race itself, but are simply attacking Zohran Mamdani because they are pro-Israel. Okay? That's it. It's probably one of the easiest telltale signs that someone is not all there. Obviously, there are even clearer markers such as this one, but oh yeah, this was a funny take as well. It kills me that Curtis and Zohran will address each other moderately cordially, but every time Cuomo speaks, they're both like, oh, so now the sex offender wants to chime in. Yeah, true.
The part of the debate where he seemed the most
Do you regret the 9/11 code? I don't really give a shit one way or another.
confident, but a lot of the forum was really dominated by the discussions that Mamdani has excelled in during this campaign, which has been, focusing on that.
To be honest, I bet you wish you never said that. Nope, I don't care one way or another, 100%, because there are a million. There are so many famous people that have said much worse shit throughout their career. Bill Maher, literally after 9/11, Bill Maher famously, immediately, a week after 9/11 said, you want to talk about bravery? Those guys flew the planes directly into the towers. That's bravery. You want to talk about being cowardly? We lob Tomahawk missiles from thousands of miles away. That's cowardice. Okay? That right there, that is a million times more consequential and a million times more direct than my attitude around blowback, which there is academic consensus on. Okay? This type of stuff only matters as much as you place emphasis on it. Do you understand? The energy that you put into it, the energy that you, if you take your opposition's framing sincerely on this kind of stuff, you are giving it more air. You are giving it more legitimacy. This is a real misstep that the Democrats play into all the time. Okay? Democrats do that all the time. It's a major issue for them. They constantly concede on the cynical framing of their opposition. That's why I really appreciated the way Zohran dealt with it, which is like, yeah, those comments are reprehensible. I don't agree with it, but I'm going to continue talking to people like Hassan. Like, what the fuck do you mean? And as a matter of fact, it's bad not to talk to people who we sometimes might disagree with. Because he's right, okay? He's right. I'm pretty sure this guy wrote a new political article as well, also saying this exact same thing that he said about the high point in the debate in a new political article as well. But once again, utterly irrelevant.
It convinced moderate Democratic voters who are uneasy with a hard left candidate like Mamdani. He's a Democratic socialist.
Like he is actively trying to farm. He is actively trying to farm a pro Cuomo perspective on CBS News local broadcast. And this is what the fuck the responses are to this otherwise idiotic back and forth here. In Manhattan, Hassan Piker is a kitchen table issue. How is a mayor going to make New York City more affordable? Is he going to make landlords charge half rent, whatever? Even though the polls say Sliwa at 1%, he's got my vote. Thank God we sold our house in Astoria, Queens last year, moved to Florida. Why do they talk about the Middle East rather than New York? Why even debate? We all know who New York City is going to choose. Cuomo's a joke. A couple takes on Curtis Sliwa. Zoran reposted this recap on Instagram.
New York City more affordable.
Zoran loves Hassan
Go
Piker.
ahead,
that guy
Madame.
is too sexy.
We
I don't
have
like
the
him at all.
architect and
I
the
don't like the
apprentice.
way that he makes me feel. He
There are
gave the
hooligans
finger
in
to
the
Christopher
streets. You
Columbus,
can't
one
walk
of the
down
best
the
Italians
street
we've
without
ever
getting
had.
shot.
He's
Take it from
literally a
me. I've
terrorist.
been
He
shot
wants to kill all
17
Jews.
different times.
He refuses to
I
denounce
don't have a
Hamas.
credit card. I
He
have
refuses
a
to
debit
denounce
card.
Hassan. Are they
Just
the same
anyone.
thing? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I've smoked weed. I'm cool as hell. As mayor, I will make New York City more affordable.
Zoran.
Hell yeah. I like that. I was waiting for Cuomo to say Hamas Piker. That would have been even funnier. And it would have basically proven that he's completely fucking brain broken by his extremely online team.
Well, if you were watching X or any social media during the debate, Curtis Sliwa was clearly the favorite candidate of social media. He is a longtime anti-crime activist, kind of a fixture in New York, something of an eccentric character. He really went into this debate, though, trying to appear mayoral. He wanted to seem like a steady hand at the wheel, not the usual eccentric Curtis.
Very cool. This guy is basically... Everyone is good by my book except for Zoran, it seems. Okay? It seems like everyone did a great job. Everyone did a great job except for Zoran. He was really bad. Have you guys thought about how much he criticized Israel? That was pretty bad. Please, let's not do that. Why are they talking so much about Curtis?
Meanwhile,
because every moment that you talk about Curtis Sliwa's debate performance and every moment that you talk about Andrew Cuomo's performance is a moment that you don't have to talk about how well Zoran did.
And just over the bridge in New Jersey, Republican Jack Ciattarelli is closing the gap on Democrat Mikey Sherrill. According to a Fox News poll, get this, Ciattarelli is now trailing by only 5 points among likely voters after trailing by 8 points last month.
Sherrill, on the other hand, losing points on honesty and trust among registered voters, dropping 4 points since September. Ciattarelli losing just 1 point in that category.
All right, so
you said Hochul's a clown and will get primaried. It's actually really interesting because I think she recognizes that as well, except for that reason, she knows which way the winds are blowing and has been kind of glazing Zoran. If you notice, I expect her to literally say that she would abide by a potential tax increase if it meant paying for all of these like wonderful things that make New York City more affordable for all New Yorkers. And she is, for all of her faults, even though she stood in opposition initially of congestion pricing, she bent the knee on that and actually saw that it was impactful in a positive way. So I think she knows what's up. Hochul wants Zoran's endorsement, and once Zoran wins the election, she'll say she supports his agenda if it gets her his endorsement. She doesn't care at all about principles. She's a machine politician. Yeah.
Well, it was really the top two individuals in this race are Mamdani and Cuomo. So the gloves really...
I don't know, man. After last night's performance, maybe the top two are actually Mamdani and Sliwa. He just said Mundaji. Dude, it's awesome. How once he is mayor, inshallah, how will they bastardize his name further?
Came off between those two. And
Because, like, I do think it's half because, like, people just have a hard time saying his name. Like, white people especially, I think, have a hard time saying his name. Because there are plenty of prominent allies of Mamdani that sometimes have a hard time saying his name as well, right? But there is definitely an air of racism associated with it too.
Mamdani said he would not denounce
Yeah, the Mamdaji is like dodging. It's a pun. I thought the chatter was talking about the hosts. Mom Dodgy is a pun on his name, saying he was dodging the questions.
I mean, that's how you know you can't trust anything that he said. He was given an opportunity in a show to just condemn Hamas and go after it. And then 2 days later, he all of a sudden gets an answer for it.
And he said that Israel shouldn't be a Jewish state.
Right.
He said that in the past.
But do you understand?
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. He says Israel shouldn't be a Jewish state. He's against ethno-states. Can you believe it? We here at the Fox News broadcast obviously want Israel to be a Jewish ethno-state and want America to be a white ethno-state. That's what we like. We like ethno-states here at Fox News. Can you believe it?
This is the shocking part when it comes to the people that and the candidates that they trust for the best job on cost of living. Mamdani gets it by 49%. Sliwa's at 17%. Cuomo's at 32%. On housing, 49% is for Mamdani. 16% for Sliwa, 33% on.
Oof. Mamdani's beating them on crime. Oh, it's so over. Oh, smoke them. Oh my God. Come on, brother.
For Cuomo and Ainsley when it comes to taxes.
Yeah, Mamdani's winning. Look at that. He gets
That's
47% on taxes. And then crime, he gets the most with 40%. They trust him the most. He'll do the better job, they say.
How crazy is that? That a guy that wants to let criminals out, close Rikers Island, have social workers to domestic disputes, and he gets the best marks on crime.
I'm not a New Yorker, so maybe
you live in New York.
I don't understand.
Here.
I don't understand the connection. Maybe there's just a different. I get the housing thing because he's talking about affordability and all of this, but the crime thing, saying that you're going to defund.
I think it is nutty. It is totally nutty. The Zoran has basically repackaged defunding the police by being like, we got to take some of the toll off of these wonderful law enforcement officers and focus on areas where crime manifests, improve people's material conditions, and also hire a network of social workers to be tasked with dealing with a lot of these like mental health crises as opposed to cops. And people were like, wow, that's a brilliant idea. I love it. That is a brilliant idea. What a spectacular message. I have never heard this before. Certainly no one has ever brought this up. No one has ever brought this up. Is he wrong, though? What do you mean? This is the position. This is the left position, okay? This has been the left position. It turns out just describing the process was so much better. And I will say a big part of the reason why he has been able to do this is because he just says it how it is. Okay? And also, Democrats are too weak to launch a significant opposition against one of the only figures in the party right now that is actually motivating people, that is actually making people excited. Takia. Yeah, I mean, this person is probably joking when he says it's Takia. I don't think they're being like actually Islamophobic. That's it. Message packaging on the left is so ass. Yeah, I think that's part of the problem for sure. That's definitely part of the problem. But make no mistake, Republicans make their messages stick because they have a unified front. The Democrats and their left flank are constantly at odds with one another. They are constantly opposing one another. You see what I mean? And therefore, there is no unified messaging front on issues like this one. Because if Democrats were like, hey guys, we don't mean like literally fire the police or abolish the police. We mean that like cops are busy tackling crimes as they're supposed to be. But unfortunately, they can't tackle all the crimes when they're handling domestic disputes, things of that nature. If like establishment Democrats actually described what defund the police meant, I think that there would be a very different approach to it. Now, It's because Democrats at the national level did not want to do any of those things regardless. That's precisely the reason why they were acting scared. They were operating from a scared position. Scared money don't make no money. This was my advocacy throughout the entire duration when we were talking about defund the police during Black Lives Matter. I was so frustrated. I was so goddamn frustrated with the way that Democrats actually instantly locked in on their left flank and were like, we're not like them. We're not like them. They did this with fucking October 7, post-October 7 protesters. They did this with like anti-Semitism on college campuses. They did this with immigration. They do this with everything. The National Democratic Party are seen as insincere, hypocritical, whiny little smug, entitled babies for a reason, for a very good reason, because they are that. Okay? Because they consistently lean into the most cynical oppositional framing on every single issue. And they hand victory after victory on the messaging front to the Republicans. Okay? And this is the product of that. Zoran is not doing that.
The police, I don't understand how that's good.
But here's the problem with housing, Lawrence. Your bills are, you're going to make less money.
100%.
Your taxes will go
100%.
up. So when it comes to your housing, you're going to have to skimp in other areas. Yeah.
So here is a look at how the candidates tackled crime.
We have the architect and we have the apprentice of no cash bail, which has been a disaster. We have the architect and the apprentice here of Raise the Age. My own son was almost killed because of that in a gang attack. We have the architect and we have the apprentice of Close Rikers Island, which would just release criminals in the street. Thank God I'm not a professional politician, because they have helped create this crime crisis in the city that we face.
I would add 5,000 police, put 1,500 in the subways.
Dude, that is such a crazy fucking way to talk about this issue, by the way. No wonder people, I think, like Zoran's. No wonder why people think Zoran's method is actually smarter. Like, we're gonna put 1,500 cops in the subway, 5,000 extra police units. Like, by the way, no one ever asks, how are you gonna pay for that? When it comes to 5,000 new cops, 5,000 new heads, training, gear, overtime pay, hazard pay, Candy Crush subscription so you can get like tier 3 drops on Candy Crush when you're in the fucking subway station. None of that is ever called into question. People only ask, how are you going to pay for it, when it's about fast and free buses. No one ever says, how are we going to pay for 5,000 extra cops? I mean, I guess they technically did ask Andrew Cuomo. He didn't end up answering it, but like, you know, just broadly not a thing. How are we going to pay for it with military expenditures? Never asked at the national level. It's only a question for when politicians accidentally arrive at like a reasonable policy that actually helps working class Americans.
He's delusional. You're going to have mental health experts, counselors, social workers show up to the most dangerous call a cop can get, which is a domestic violence call. So you're going to have people that didn't sign up for that profession have violent attacks against them.
Wait, what?
That is the most. What are you going to put bulletproof?
Dude. Every fucking EMT, first of all, every EMT unironically signs up for that profession. And it's completely unacceptable when violence does take place at times. But like the notion that healthcare professionals and social workers do not realize that there is also potentially a violent altercation that could take place in these calls is ridiculous. It is literally an unfortunate but foreseeable part of this job. Okay? It's crazy. It's crazy. Also, an altercation of that sort becoming violent is infinitely more likely if it's a fucking cop that's coming in. Social workers and emergency room nurses oftentimes deal with people experiencing mental health crises with regular they do it all the time. They do it daily. This is their job. And they are able to deal with those incidents without that incident turning into a seriously violent altercation, also with regular fucking frequency, as opposed to the success measure of cops who don't have any tools to deal with someone experiencing a mental health episode and will just take their gun out and shoot people. Police are also an objectively threatening presence. It is the job. It is a part of the requirement. Like, you have to have authority over the person that you're commanding. In many circumstances, that's not the appropriate measure. Saying that social workers and mental health professionals are not trained to deal with these sorts of incidents is like saying firefighters are not tasked with combating fire. It is exactly what they're tasked with dealing with. That is their fucking job. And unlike cops, social workers, and many of them that are in this chat right now, will tell you personally that they are trained to de-escalate. They are trained to de-escalate. Cops, on the other hand, only can escalate. There's no de-escalation. Oh yeah, this was also a good take from Sturgeon's Law. New York City is 28% Latino, 20% black, and there were no questions about plans to help either of those communities, but the debate for who will be their next mayor spent 13 minutes on Israel, Gaza, and New York City. Sturgeon's Law says, we need to be able to have an honest discussion about why the moderators ignore local communities and give so much time to questions about a foreign country most New Yorkers don't support without the usual false accusations of anti-Semitism, terrorist sympathy, etc. It's true. Probably because the leading candidate started his political career with a crusade against it. I love these guys. I love the Georgists on Twitter, the rapid urbanist Twitter that weirdly enough hate this guy, even though he's Mr. Urbanist himself. Okay. And also seemingly find themselves constantly feeling maybe a little ashamed about their position on Israel, but constantly fucking attacking critics of Israel, weirdly enough. I wonder how that works. I wonder why. I mean, it's literally, he has Mossad in his fucking username. I know the answer. No, it's not just that they're Islamophobic. Obviously, Islamophobia is a big component to the Zionist charge.
But these are attacks not on any one representative. They're attacks on the entire city. And what my job as mayor would be to tell New Yorkers how the suspension of $18 billion would continue to trap them in bumper-to-bumper traffic. It would continue to leave them in long train delays. And it would actually rob tens of thousands of New Yorkers of the jobs that they could have if this money that we're owed was actually to be delivered to them.
I think two things that Curtis Lewa definitely fucked up on, in spite of the fact that he actually looked more progressive than Andrew fucking Cuomo did, was when he said we can't expand the subway into Harlem. Okay? Because that's very obviously not only like a racially charged thing that he's stating, but also it's not even like it doesn't even make sense for this day and age. That's like 1970s racism. And the other area where he fucked up was when he talked about the congestion pricing, saying that he was the only candidate on stage who was against congestion pricing. Those were two moments where it was like very obvious that he just looked silly and stupid, and I think that made him look worse overall. But also, his background is already pretty silly. I mean, there's a reason why he's run a million times for mayor and has lost consistently.